Hi, welcome to this short presentation on business value for those taking the PMP exam. The 2026 exam has a greater focus on business value, which means you get more questions on it. And hopefully with this presentation, you can help get more questions correct. My name is Mark Ludwigson. I'm a trainer for boot camps with pducredits.com. And I have background in engineering project management, and certainly see the importance of making sure projects have benefits in the end that bring value to the organization. So to start this off, we talk about value creation is really the primary purpose of projects. Every project brings about a change that gives value to the organization. So that includes organizational success, societal impacts, and sustainability goals. So value is often defined in the organization's strategy or mission statements. And then each project results in unique benefits that contribute to that strategy and to those defined values. So in terms of types of value, there's financial value, for example, revenue and cost savings. There's strategic value, such as gaining a market position or competitive advantage, or just a growth in revenue or growth in size of the company and whatnot. There's operational value, like increased efficiencies, productivities, or capability. And then there's often social value, which can be like customer satisfaction, reputation, or new branding, and so forth. So this triangle represents elements within an organization that should align to ultimately produce value for the business. So we talked about at the top the vision and mission statement of the organization should talk about what values the business is going after. Organizational strategy goes into more detail of that. Sometimes each department or division has their own strategy. And then further down, there's portfolio management, which is groups of projects and programs. More detailed strategic planning, which within departments. And then PMO, which is a project management office, will support projects and programs and portfolios. And then at the very bottom of the triangle on the left is the management of operations and products, which are regular ongoing outputs that produce value. And then on the right are the programs and projects, which support operations and help make it more efficient or more capabilities and so forth. So together at the bottom of the triangle, between operations and projects, they bring about value for the organization. So at the portfolio level, it's focused more on strategic, higher level value, and there's a continuous value realization, an ongoing reporting of value. Programs are groups of related projects that can deliver bulk benefits, and those benefits add up to the more higher level value. And then within each project, there's very specific benefits that, again, add up to creating value. So value is the more high level, like in this example, wanting to increase in efficiency across the organization. Well, then within certain programs or projects, there's specific benefits like 10% more daily output, or reducing waste by 10%. Those are specific measurable benefits. that a project can result in. And then within each project, there are requirements that are needed to get to those benefits. And projects may have dozens or even hundreds of requirements. So again, the value is up at the organization or portfolio level. Benefits are at the program or project level, and requirements are within each project. In terms of information flow for value, again, senior leadership will give the strategy and initiatives and goals of the organization or the department. And then those drive the portfolio of projects. And then the portfolio management decides which programs and projects to prioritize based on achieving certain outcomes, benefits, and value. And then ultimately, those projects result in deliverables that support and maintain operations. And then operations gives feedback about ways that improvements could be made, potential new projects that could help make operations better. So that's information kind of flowing back up on the left here. And programs and projects give performance information and progress up to the portfolio level. And then the portfolio level of all the projects has performance information that goes back up to senior leadership. So that's kind of the downflow and upflow of information. And when operations is improved by projects, there's realized benefits and value that really ripple through the entire organization. Senior leadership sees those improvements directly. All of this impacts how projects are chosen, prioritized, and executed. Within the project, there are ways to help protect the value that it's decided that you're going after. Well-defined benefits and requirements at the front are the first step to making sure that you end up with that value. Effective stakeholder engagement and governance are also extremely important. So this happens throughout the project. Stakeholders include senior leadership and like steering committees and governance, so they will help make decisions that make sure we're on target to achieve the value. Proactive risk management makes sure that you end up achieving the benefits without falling into the traps of the different risks that occur on a project. It's important to monitor the progress towards benefits realization, and especially near the end of the project for commissioning to realize the benefits. It's helpful to have a disciplined change management with benefits impact clearly defined. And then throughout the project to have a focus on quality. So in terms of project management, we should focus on delivering that value, never lose sight that the project has a purpose of creating value, and creating the benefits management plan up front is important, usually as part of the project management plan. Doing stakeholder check-ins and talking about those benefits with stakeholders and making sure that we still have the correct priorities for those. Defining and closely monitoring project requirements helps you end up getting those benefits in the end. And just having a mindset of quality and a mindset of good outcomes at the end. And then if you have multiple projects or over the years achieving multiple projects, it's good to learn, have a attitude of continuous improvement. And this may be talked about in the exam even, that there's a long-term organization value from doing good, sound project management and learning from previous mistakes through such as lessons learned logs. Adaptive mindset is something that will be talked about more in the exam starting in 2026. So this is more like the agile or hybrid type projects, where flexibility is preferred over the rigid waterfall planning. One of the ways to provide value earlier is to have incremental delivery rather than the big bang at the end. So release what you can early and start to get some benefits from that. And one of the terms that's used is minimum viable products, or MVPs. So that would be an early release of a product or deliverable that the organization can start to see some benefits from before the project is completed. Team empowerment is important to have, rather than just command control. So providing the team with the information, resources, game plan, and motivation to produce the outcomes that give the benefits and value. Continuous feedback, especially with stakeholders, and being willing to make adjustments is seen as positive. And responding to change rather than just saying, oh, we're just going to follow the original plan. That's a better adaptive mindset. Sustainability and social responsibility will probably also be questioned on the exam. In general, environmental impact is something to be considered on most projects. Social responsibility is something important as well, not just in the original goals of the project, but in the way that it's executed. Also, ethical decision making is something seen that the project manager is to take into account for decisions. Of course, stakeholder well-being mentioned a few times here, and then long-term value creation, often through lessons learned. All right, so let's do an example question here now that we're at the end of the material on value creation. So this question, number one, a project manager is leading a multi-year software development project, and halfway through execution, a major competitor releases a similar project with advanced artificial intelligence features. The project sponsor wants to know if the project should continue. To determine if the project still delivers sufficient business value, which is the best first step for the project manager? A, immediately pause all work until executives provide direction. So with A, this is a pretty drastic step that usually as project manager, you don't just pause work without direction from the governance group. So that's probably not the best thing to do. Number B, submit a formal change request to integrate AI features into the scope. That may or may not be helpful. The question doesn't say that we for sure want to do that. So that's something that maybe could be done, but a project manager should first assess that need before going ahead and submitting a formal change request. So number C, review the business case and benefits management plan to assess impact on expected value. So the business case and benefits management plan can be changed at any time, and they should be current. So reviewing those documents and deciding if maybe they need to be changed, maybe AI features should be important, or looking at the competitors that have those should be assessed. So I think that's a good answer. And then number D, meet with the project team to brainstorm AI features. Again, we don't know for sure we want to move in that direction, so that's not a bad thing to do, but it's better to look at the business case, benefits management plan, involve the stakeholders, and figure out generally where we're headed with this before going into details of integrating AI features. So number C is the best answer here. Sometimes in the exam there's more than one answer that makes sense. You got to pick the best one. So with that, we'll conclude this short presentation on value, business value. Feel free to put in comment any questions. Thank you.